Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And as the CDL response to the concerns raised by Clayster and Envoy that we looked at yesterday, Shotzzy's also talking about OpTic's defeat to Los Angeles Thieves at the Kickoff Classic and why the Vetos may primarily have been the cause. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, hitting that like button is the best thing you can do. Top this channel reaching new people. Please do subscribe as well if you have not yet already. Loads of new support the last couple of days. Really appreciate it, guys. First of all, let's say this from Real. I'm not sure. I think it was just one A, it'd be Real. But, you know, I don't know. Real, whatever. He's one of the players on the Young Cretins team that's been dominating the European challenger scene so far from the Spanish region. And I guess they're odds-on favourites right now from the European side to make it out to the Pro Classic at, I guess, the end of May sometime, which is, of course, very exciting stuff. So still, I guess, potentially, when I first saw this, maybe an organisation, a CDL team has come in and said, hey, like, we'll get on our roster. Definitely one of the most exciting prospects from that region. And, you know, a team like Toronto in the past, they brought in a couple of Spanish guys at the start of their Modern Warfare season. Didn't really work out, but still, it was something that at least was considered at the time. Now, still, when I saw this, I thought, okay, maybe a CDL org's coming in, picking up one of these guys as a sub. But then I also saw from Journey, who, of course, some of you guys might remember as part of the Team Heretics roster, one of the greatest players, honestly, in the early to mid part of Black Ops 4 a few years ago. Like, he's also on this roster, also gets signed. So it would kind of be surprising if a CDL org has come in and said, okay, we're going to get both of you guys on our sub bench, especially because, like, language barrier, these kind of things could of course, cause some issues. So it's maybe more likely that an organisation might be coming into challenges and saying, okay, hey, we're going to get you on our roster. Because it wouldn't be a surprise if, well, some CDL teams in the future heavily consider some of these guys, or maybe already are considering some of these guys, just because of how some of the talent outside of North America lately has really stepped it up to a new level, right? We've seen the likes of Prez, of course, Hydra, like, you know, and of course, the Toronto guys won this last weekend's event, right, again, with a fully European roster. So I'm sure that a lot of these organisations are looking at some of these guys that are dominating the challenger sides, and that maybe your Heretics or another team, like there's a lot of great organisations in Spain, come through and just sign these guys now, so they can maybe make a bit of money selling them on, but also have, well, potentially they can represent an organisation at the Pro Classic, which, if they, of course, do qualify for that one. So interesting stuff to keep your eyes on, no doubt. This also to mention from Toronto Ultra, or at least, well, on the Maven and Merk front, really. Lots of people are hoping these guys will be back in business for the CDL this year. It's not looking overwhelmingly likely at the present time. They were casting like a 25k, like Warzone type tournament that was going on last night. But, yes, I mean, there's this guy who posted on Reddit, right? I forget what day we're on now, like day 9 maybe, you know, posting some sort of meme before these guys come back to cast competitive cards. But I do wonder if he'll be on like day 1000 or something before they ever do make the return, especially because I saw this yesterday. Now, look, I'm not particularly familiar with Overwatch or Bren and Sideshow especially, but to my understanding, these are pretty top tier casters of the Overwatch League, and for some reason, as Sideshow points out, currently they do not have an agreement with Activision Blizzard, of course, the usual suspects, with the Overwatch League, marking the end of our 4 years as broadcast talent. We wish the league and our colleagues the best of luck for Overwatch 2, which I guess is coming out soon or something. Now, I mean, still, this of course does not send the best intentions for Maven and Merk, if they were also kind of the top tier premier casting duo. Pretty sure Brennan and Sideshow were considered in a similar boat, haven't been brought back either. So it does make you think, like, what's going on over there, right? Is it just a cost-cutting venture? Like, but it just seems that very similar parallels, frankly, across the two leagues. And, of course, if they haven't changed their mind on Sideshow and Bren as a result of the Maven and Merk situation, you would think that probably Maven and Merk aren't coming back anytime soon. Frustrating stuff. I guess we can only continue to make our thoughts plain and clear to the CDL right now. Let's dive into this then, right? So as the Tat says, how I'm pulling up to the next COD event, right, like this, because of course the frustrations that were raised about the precautions and the protocols, right, that the CDL had in place this past weekend at the CDL Kickoff Classic for an event that, all things considered, may have been considered relatively meaningless, but, you know, still, I'm sure down the line, it's probably going to count as a championship victory, especially given some of the events that are counted as championship victories down the ages as well. So yes, Attach says the following. Now, the CDL come up with a response here. So first of all, I do appreciate the fact that the CDL this year seems to have certainly stepped up the transparency from where we were in previous years. Like, yeah, this response might not be the greatest one in the world. I'm sure you guys can make your own mind up on that one. But still, in previous years, we've seen if something big happens on the timeline, the CDL is just radio silence, right? Whereas this year, like, big concerns get raised, the CDL comes out with, like, the community update number 1 they did with Daniel Sai, and now this was talked about just yesterday, and now they've said, okay, let's just do a statement, try to put it out there to maybe protect our own backs legally, but also there is some transparency with the community, and much greater, I think, this year than we've seen before, which I think could only be a positive thing. So this is what they go on to say. We are sad to hear that some of our players tested positive following the Kickoff Classic. The safety and well-being of our players and staff is extremely important to us. All teams were required to provide the CDL with a plan to be tested prior to traveling to Arlington in Texas. Upon arrival, all staff and players were also required to test test and produce a negative test prior to entering the venue. Also, in line with our policy last year, the Kickoff Classic had a mask mandate within the venue, staff and signage to remind fans of this requirement. Lastly, we offered retesting to all teams and staff on day 3. Interesting stuff. So the mask mandate to me is kind of interesting because watching the event from home, you wouldn't really have realised there was a mask mandate going on. Now, I mean, still, from their perspective, they say their staff and signage to kind of remind fans of this requirement. I did dive into the Reddit threads again, and there was one guy in there saying that he was at the event and that there was a member of staff that told him to put the mask back on. So, you know, I guess they were trying to do something. Maybe they weren't enforcing it as much as they could have. I'm sure that's what some of the pros were talking about and some of the other concerns that were raised that didn't necessarily get addressed in this particular one. And as they go on to say, player, fan, talent, and on-site personnel health and safety remain a top priority for all CDL events. Unfortunately, there is an inherent risk at live events now. We wish it weren't so. However, our health and safety protocols will always meet or exceed any local regulation. So that's kind of the statement they come out with. Of course, there's always kind of been an inherent risk at live events anyway, right? Like if you go to a LAN event several years ago, there's always like a LAN flu that goes around. Like if you go to an event where loads of different people from all over the world, you're probably going to catch something. Nowadays, it's likely, of course, to be one of these particular variants. So I wonder if they'll change anything going forward on the next Texas event, or I'm sure Toronto will be very different, right, depending on the local regulations there. Hoping to have fans in the venue everywhere, of course, but it might not be all that likely right now. This then we'll dive into from Shotzzy. So he was doing some parades, responding really and talking about their loss to Los Angeles Thieves at the weekend at the kickoff, and just discussing the reasons for it, right? And he talked about the fact that yes, this event didn't really matter all that much, that they're frying in scrims. Thought it was kind of like an OpTic thing to say anyway, that yeah, they were killing it in scrims, and he was kind of joking about it, right? But at the same time, like he was like, okay, they're frying in scrims. The matches, obviously didn't go their way, but of course, look, the match is probably more important than scrim results are, for example. But he then goes on to talk about the vetoes that they had and the fact that yeah, that may have let them down in this series.
Obviously, this weekend was it did not pan out how we wanted it to, but the good thing is that it's just a kickoff, you know. So we didn't really lose like any CDL points or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Wait, why is my... Okay, whatever. So, single limb, yeah, and it was a single limb, which is, I mean, you know, it's whatever. It's aight. But we're fine in the scrims though. But whenever it came to match time, we honestly just got really unfortunate, and then our vetoes were pretty dog. Yeah. He said just like last year. I wasn't on OpTic last year. I mean, nah, that was him with the. I mean, it's just how it is, man. It's all good though.
So these were the maps and modes that LA played up against OpTic at the weekend, and I was personally surprised, like especially with the Gamma 2 Hardpoints Game 1, like the direction OpTic decided to take this series. Now, look, it's very clear that Gamma 2 is a map that's liked by OpTic in their scrims that we did see. They seem to be pretty good at it, but to me, based on scrim results, it's definitely LA Thieves' favourite map. It seems to be Drazah's favourite map. It's like the Checkmate V2 for Drazah, and it reminds me a lot of what OpTic did last year, where, you know, let's say towards the end of the season, Checkmate was a great map for OpTic towards the middle of the year, but then towards the end, Toronto became incredibly good at it, but still OpTic decided to challenge Toronto often on that map, just because OpTic tend to like to pick the maps that they are comfortable on, as opposed to banning out the maps that the other team is comfortable on as well. Like, you know, OpTic might like Gamma 2, but if Los Angeles Thieves really like Gamma 2, maybe it's worth, you know, moving away from that map, right? We kind of saw in the hardpoints here, OpTic banned the Berlin, LA banned the Bocage, and not probably a map you want to play up against Shotzzy. So yeah, maybe Berlin they could have played map 1 if they banned Gamma 2 or something like that. The Search and Destroy, it's tough to say who really likes what, right? So LA Thieves banned Tuscan, and it was OpTic that banned the Bocage on that one, which is kind of an interesting pick again, because you'd think even maybe Bocage, Search and Destroy, that might favour some of the SMG and the aggressive plays that OpTic are able to come out with, as opposed to Desert Siege, longer lines of sight, maybe slightly favours the Los Angeles Thieves guys more. So again, interesting vetoes. Shotzzy probably has a point on this front. Of course, they lose 3-1 in the end, and the hardpoint was looking pretty great on the whole from Los Angeles Thieves in this series. You can see maybe a wise decision here to ban Gamma 2 in the control from OpTic, but looking back at the other map vetoes, it does seem kind of questionable, so I guess that's something they're going to get on top of. But it's strange because the loss they had to Los Angeles Thieves seemed very similar in many ways to how their losses went last year. Like the vetoes weren't great, that the kind of their body language didn't look great, and they didn't really seem to have like a backup plan when they went down 1-0. So just I think they can work on this type of stuff. Of course, they're looking great in scrims behind the scenes, as Shotzzy is very keen to point out, but still, things that didn't really translate to the match day, which I'm sure is something they can work on going forward. Also wanted to mention Scump's opinion on this because he actually goes through and breaks down the final ending of that map against Los Angeles Thieves on that game 4 Tuscan hardpoint. And I'm just looking at how, well, he misplayed himself, and it was good to see really Scump like taking accountability for the mistakes that he made and the teammate here, because you know, he reckoned they should have won that map at the end, but well, things kind of fell apart.
But right here, like, I thought we were gonna win the game, honestly, right here. So we have a good setup. We all know they're spawning on this side of the map. We know that no one's through. Just 4 deaded them. Right here, I probably shouldn't have watched Pinch from so far back of a spot. But the thing about it is that Dylan actually does go for a deep pinch. Like, I have the right idea, but I picked it up way too early. Like, I should be helping the team probably here. And then he cuts back through mid. So, like, I had the right idea. I probably should just playing closer to hill right here. Because he just cuts through mid. And this is where Ender's like, there's 2 mid. So I'm like, oh, there's 2 mid. So I'm sprinting, like, trying to pick it up. I probably could have just pre-aimed this. And maybe I definitely kill 1 right here. So the better play here, we both go their side U to try to kill the guys on their side hill. We probably should have just went our side U, tried to finesse, get a kill, and just buy time for our teammates here. But instead, we try to force the gunfights their side U when they're obviously going to be watching that. Like, obviously. You know, like, that's the only angle that they can both die from is their side U. So if we just go our side here, it probably works out better for us.
And just to finish out with this, because I thought this was fantastic and deserved a shout out, Rampage Jackson was involved in a Los Angeles Thieves boot camp that I'm pretty sure they're doing a video on, maybe 4 videos. They've done 2 already, 2 more I believe to come. We get all the Los Angeles Thieves guys, the players themselves, some other special guests in there as well. And Rampage Jackson's kind of like the drill sergeant, right, for the entire boot camp they're going on ahead of the season. Really entertaining content, actually, surprisingly entertaining, I thought. And yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the next couple of episodes over the coming days. Some of the best content I think that's really been produced by a CDL organization. But very much intrigued your thoughts and all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hitting a like button tells the YouTube gods this is a good video, and it's like you should see it as well. And I've grown the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always, take care, and I will see you next time.